Hey everyone, this is Garrett Johnson, and I'm excited to share my first video in a planned series of pro-style scouting reports for the 2024 NBA Draft. We're going to be highlighting players that I think are under-discussed and underappreciated in the class, guys who deserve more recognition for what they do best, and we're also going to get a look at their statistical profiles and what their success and failure cases look like at the next level. I can't think of a better way to start this series than to highlight one of the stars of my hometown Virginia Cavaliers, Reece Beekman. So let's jump right into it. Reece Beekman has put on a show his senior year at Virginia and has truly carried a struggling offensive unit to what will probably be another NCAA tournament bid for the Cavaliers, and he's done so while also defending the opponent's best guard every game. I really can't underline enough how different this year's Virginia offense is to what we've come to expect from a Tony Bennett team. The tempo is slow. The heavily structured offensive actions are still a staple, but the personnel is dramatically different. Virginia rarely has more than two efficient shooters on the floor at a time. The team lacks in size and strength inside, and 25 games of the season, they're still trying to find their go-to role man. They've used countless different rotations throughout the year while they've dealt with injuries, and it just doesn't seem like they've fully figured out yet who should be in their starting five. The result is that the Virginia Cavaliers have relied heavily on the dribble drive ability of Beekman to create open looks and rescue offensive possessions this season. That reliance has harmed some of Beekman's scoring efficiency, which we'll talk more about later, but his heavy offensive usage has only allowed him to further blossom as a point guard to the tune of a 42.4% assist rate, a number that could be even more astronomical if he had more efficient shooters to pass to on the floor. On the defensive end, Beekman's putting up some of the very best defensive numbers of any player in the country this season, and as we'll see in a moment, the tape lines up with the stats. Off-ball defense isn't usually the attention-grabbing first bullet at the top of a scouting report, but Reece Beekman's ability off the ball is just too notable not to lead with. If Reed Sheppard hadn't burst onto the scene this season, there would be no argument about which guard is the best off-ball defender in this draft class, and I still think that superlative belongs to Beekman. Reece is usually multiple chess moves ahead of the offense off the ball, and that allows him to constantly cheat off his man while staying within striking distance to properly close out. Beekman's currently 14th in the country in steal rate, and while the leaderboard in this category is typically littered with guys who sell out for steals and don't defend honestly, that couldn't be further from the case for Beekman. When he attacks passing lanes, he gains advantage through anticipation rather than overcommitment, which means that he rarely plays himself out of position by going for the steal. You can regularly find him hiding in the shadows of the defense, baiting the ball handler to pass the seemingly open shooter on the wings, pushing transition off of steals. On the ball, Beekman is a perimeter-oriented, containment-style defender who has shown an ability at Virginia to consistently funnel his man into the heart of the defense. His defensive footwork and balance really shine his skills to facilitate the mirroring of ball handlers and his ability to stay with them through and around ball screens. Beekman is great at blowing up triple handoffs, one of the many ways that he finds opportunities to use his elite defensive hands to disrupt opposing offenses. Just like his off-ball defense, Beekman never overcommits when attacking his opponent's handle, instead waiting for moments to strike with quick swipes without giving up his position. He's pretty switchable on the perimeter in terms of containing ball handlers, but his lack of verticality does probably limit his ability to contest high release points. Overall, I grade Beekman as one of the very best defenders in the draft class in terms of immediately transferable ability and skill level. He may lack the upper echelon defensive outcomes in the NBA of someone like his teammate Ryan Dunn, but you know you're getting a defender who can immediately slide into a pro scheme without too many growing pains, and he can start making plays right away. Let's move over to the offensive side of the ball now, and we'll start with ball handling. The first thing that catches my eye when I watch Beekman's handle is that he is about as close to ambidextrous as you're going to find in this draft. If you didn't see him shoot the ball, he could fool you into thinking he was left-handed at times. He has no hesitation finishing at the rim or passing with either hand, and he can attack the rim with either hand at similar speeds. Beekman's footwork as a ball handler is far more technical than most guards in this class, which helps him to keep defenders off balance trying to make plays. He takes a long stride with his first step and has no wasted steps attacking his man, hitting you with an array of spin moves, in and out dribbles, and quick deceleration for mid-range jumpers or kickouts to shooters. That being said, his footwork has to be technical because his burst and verticality getting to the rim has raised some questions. I gave some benefit of the doubt to Beekman last year while he was playing through a significant injury, but going through his tape from this season, I was somewhat disappointed. On straight line drives, Beekman's lack of on-ball burst, his average verticality, and his technical driving style really don't lend to highlight plays at the rim. And I've witnessed too many instances on the tape of Beekman getting contained off the dribble and blocked for it not to be worth noting here. Some of Beekman's straight line drive limitations would be absolved if he was able to finish with more verticality, but instead, his layup package is pretty simple, especially for his age. The Florida game earlier this season stuck out especially, where Florida's frontcourt players were able to slide with Beekman fairly easily, and point guard Walter Clayton Jr. was able to block a ground-bound layup attempt. While I just noted some concerns with Beekman's burst and verticality on the ball, I want to push the brakes on calling him a subpar NBA athlete overall. Now, I'm not normally one to deal in NBA player comps, and I won't pretend they're anything scientific. But I think it's a useful exercise here to look at past combine performances to help make a case that Beekman meets the athletic threshold to be a pro. The main thing you look out for with combine numbers for skilled upperclassmen is that their numbers simply belong when compared to NBA contemporaries. When I look through the NBA combine numbers of successful guards under 6'2" barefoot, Dennis Schroeder pops up as a worthwhile comparison. Beekman has about 20 pounds on current day Schroeder, which should help him hold up defensively in the backcourt, and his lane agility numbers and three-quarter sprint virtually match Schroeder's despite playing at that heavier weight. You do see some pretty dramatic differences in hand size and shuttle run that play into Schroeder's ability as a shifty ball handler, and there is an argument to be made that NBA agents have made strides over the last decade in preparing their clients to nail these combine performances. But it's encouraging nonetheless to see Beekman stack up athletically with an NBA veteran with 10 years of service and counting. I mentioned earlier that Beekman is one of the college leaders in assist rate, and his footwork is a significant contributor to that. Every step is deliberate and measured with Beekman, and he really is one of the best players in his class at maintaining his balance on the ball while driving into his defender and attacking tight driving windows. For the NBA, players like Beekman who may not always be able to get their best looks at the rim, they need escape plans and high-level court vision. Beekman has that court vision, and it's why he's so trusted in the Virginia offense to consistently go out and just make plays in late shot clock situations. Beekman's got every pass you could ask for in his repertoire, and hits them with either hand. Wraparound corner kick passes, entry lobs and dunker spot lobs, pinpoint bounce passes, and predictive perimeter passes to streaking shooters. His passing accuracy is immaculate. He knows his teammates' preferences and hits their shooting pocket consistently in a way that will make him very well liked by anybody he plays with. I really recommend turning on a Virginia game this year and just focusing on the quality of the passes he makes possession to possession. We've talked about Beekman's scoring at the rim and his ability as a playmaker. Now it's time to talk about his three-point shot, which could turn out to be the difference between a long career for Beekman and a quieter one overseas. Beekman has expanded his three-point range over his career from mostly taking stationary threes at low efficiency to now taking threes off movement and the occasional three off the dribble. His off-ball relocation is a strength here. Beekman always has his footwork ready when the ball arrives, and he gets into his mechanics quickly when he has to be a closeout. While his shot versatility has improved year to year, Beekman's three-point shot volume is still pretty low, especially with how high his usage is within the offense, and the shot mechanics do come with some questions. For one, you can sometimes observe a snappy motion to Beekman's shot on the release when he's taking deeper threes off movement, and when he has to rush his release. I don't think he generates enough power from his lower body on some of these attempts, and the snap motion is a way of compensating for that. This raises some concerns for me about how consistent his mechanics will be out the gate when he has to consistently take tougher shots as a pro. Because right now the severity of that snap motion can range from not appearing to being very pronounced depending on the attempt. I'm also concerned that Beekman's shot prep has too much of a leftward lean at times that he then has to straighten out during energy transfer. I trust Beekman's mechanics enough to think that he'll be able to hit open NBA threes if teams start daring him to take them. But he doesn't profile to me as a guy who will ever be taking threes at a high volume on an NBA court. And he's someone who will need to have real progress in his mechanical work with shooting coaches to become a league average shooter. Beekman's career shooting profile lines up with the scout here, as we see that Beekman's shot has improved over his college career, but he has never hit threes or free throws at a rate of efficiency that would immediately suggest there is untapped potential in this area. If Beekman's best role at the next level is to be a table-setting point guard creating for others, at minimum he needs to be able to hit open threes to punish sagging defenders and poor closeouts. And right now he just hasn't done enough, in my opinion, for teams to have deep confidence here purely off the numbers. Reece Beekman attended the NBA Combine last year and was measured 6'1.5" without shoes, and Virginia has him listed at 6'3" with shoes on. Let's look at how many regular rotation players in the league, 6'3" or shorter, are below average three-point shooters. There are 9 names here this season: Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Terry Rozier, Darius Garland, and Jordan Clarkson are all veteran, respected shooters who have hit threes on volume at a highly efficient clip at some point in their careers. Scoot Henderson is a rookie, leaving only Marcus Smart, Dennis Schroeder, and Trey Jones as their veteran players for comparison. Schroeder is a name that I mentioned earlier as an athletic comparison for Beekman, but I want to focus in on Trey Jones here for role comparison. Obviously, the narrative around San Antonio this year was their choice to try the point Sohan experiment over starting Jones. But Jones has been a consistent 20-plus minute getter all year, regardless of starting or coming off the bench. And Jones came into the league with similar shooting priors to Beekman. We've come to the point in the video where I'm going to give my draft grade, and it's worth saying that Beekman's draft grade is going to vary greatly team to team based on what they like to run and what they need for their team. My overall draft grade for Reece Beekman is that he'd be worth taking in the early second round of a typical draft. In a draft like the 2024 class with talent questions, he might even place higher on my final board. It's tough to say until we see who withdraws. Beekman projects to be an immediately playable backup point guard in the NBA, who doesn't need to always be the primary ball handler to make an impact. He won't turn the ball over, he always makes the right pass, and he can handle his on-ball defensive assignments while making plays in defensive space. From there, long term, he will need to improve his three-point shot, or at least prove he can make open threes consistently to secure consistent minutes regardless of team context. If I could identify one place where I've differed with most other scouts I've talked to about Beekman, it's that they've underrated the value of Beekman being able to provide specified value to teams right away to keep himself relevant within an NBA team's regular season rotation. Virginia players have long been well regarded in NBA circles for their NBA readiness, and I think Beekman is no exception here. Well, that does it for this inaugural scouting video for the channel. You can check out my summarized scouting report below, and please reach out to me on Twitter, Garrett Johnson, or my handle @halfawake_takes. Would love to hear your feedback about this video, how I can continue to improve on the format, and what you think of Reece Beekman. Thanks for checking this out, and I'm looking forward to sending another video your way soon. See you all.